Welcome to another episode of Chad and Steve Have a Podcast. In today's episode, we talk about Snapchat, Vine, TikTok, and other disposable content platforms. Steve shares his channel of the week. We talk about how we get our video ideas and how YouTube channels evolve to stay relevant over time. And we learn a little bit more about me, Chad.
Hey, welcome back to Chad and Steve Have a Podcast, although you probably just said that in the introduction. For those of you new to the show, this is a podcast mostly about YouTube and its culture and kind of everything surrounding YouTube. We just love talking about YouTube. Chad and I have both been on the platform for over a decade each.
That's right. And while we're on the topic of making a podcast about YouTube, we also got our first rating. I think it was a 5-star rating. And the comment was wonderful because I think it really drove home exactly what we're trying to express in our podcast about YouTube, which is getting really good television recommendations for Netflix.
That's right.
And actually, maybe that's a great place to start because I must say, we haven't talked about this since we talked about it the last time, which is you recommended The Queen's Gambit.
Oh, yeah.
In the same sentence that you said, this is the best show that I've seen since Breaking Bad. And I knew when you said something like that it was pretty serious. So the bar was incredibly high.
It was. And I don't know if I was being a little hyperbolic there after thinking about it, but then I thought about it more and I thought, I really liked this show. For some reason, it just hit that spot on me of like so satisfying to watch The Queen's Gambit.
So it is true in one way. However, they had 7 episodes to not mess it up. So I guess arguably, when you have 7 seasons of a show and you manage to kind of keep it going through that long, that says a lot. However, I am so thoroughly impressed by that show. I'm so thoroughly impressed by both of the young women who played the main character, especially the younger one, because it just always, it's just so toxic when you usually have a kid kind of being the forefront of a show, it's or like when they went back to young Skywalker in the Star Wars movies, and it's just like, no, please don't do this to a character. But there was something so stoic, and I mean, clearly we kind of knew about her history and whatnot, so you saw all of that emotion and whatnot in her eyes. She literally could just sit and look at the screen, and it's well done. I never thought, I think you said it yourself, you didn't think you would get interested in a show which was so much about chess.
Yeah, and the matches, they're like exciting, they're thrilling matches to watch. The chess, the way they filmed it was so good. And I love Anya Taylor-Joy. I think I've seen everything she's been in just about. I originally saw her in The Witch, and that's where I was like, she is going to be an amazing actress.
So we'll digress quickly away from Netflix topics. However, I did want to bring that up. If anybody, well, actually, the reason why I brought that up is because yes, the one rating was, hey, thanks for the recommendation on The Queen's Gambit. That's a great show. So we'll take it.
Yeah, that was really nice. That was from Goofy Gal 22. I don't even. Are you supposed to say the numbers after somebody's name? There's probably like a lot of goofy gals.
Do you think there's a lot of goofy gals that are listening who are like, I wonder if they're talking about me or that other goofy gal, Gal 22?
But we really appreciate your 5-star rating on the show and your channel review. So we'll take it. You're the very first one. Congratulations.
Thank you very much for the comment.
You want to know something weird? Okay, this guy on one of my patrons on Patreon sent me this link to, and I forget about the Wayback Machine, where you can, it's an archive of old websites and everything, where it's really interesting to go back and see. Well, he sent me the link to my YouTube channel. Okay, so this was back in, what's the date on this? This is like June 22nd, 2009.
Wow.
So it's like you can see exactly what it looked like with that. I didn't go too crazy with the background because you can add the backgrounds back then. So I just went with like this. And I remember doing this. It looked like a kind of a wood colored background. It's a woodworking channel. So
I see what you did there.
But the weirdest thing to look at this is that this was in 2009. And I had been posting videos for a year at this point, and I had 186 subscribers, 186. And I can't believe, looking back on this, that at the time, I don't remember thinking, oh man, this channel is just not growing. It's not. At the time, I I think that I thought that was good. I don't know. I guess today, if you took a year to get 186 subscribers, you're probably doing something wrong. But I'd already posted let's see, how many videos had I posted here? 24 videos. So it was kind of, and here's the funny thing about it. Another funny thing about it is that it would show you on your channel page how many videos you've watched.
That's right.
And in that first year, I had this is, I don't know if this is like really bad to admit, but I had watched 9,941 videos in that first year of
What do you think that number is now, Steve? And how
I
many of
wonder.
those videos do you think are cat videos? Is the
Oh
bigger
my
question.
God. It's just like I had done 9,000 in that first year. Oh, I don't even want to think about how many I've watched now.
So it's interesting because we talk a lot about followers, and we talk about, you know, the impetus to like want to like release content so you can get as many followers as. It would be very interesting if they still had that stat to see how many people
Yeah.
would try to be the person or the people who watched the most amount of. Like, you would end up becoming famous for the person who watched 1 million videos on YouTube. Because you would
Right.
have like, I've watched 1 million videos, and then
Yeah.
that number would all of a sudden start. And they talk about it in The Social Dilemma, where it's like the number of followers starts to like usurp the actual content or what you're doing. It's now just a march for like getting that number as big as possible, regardless of the context or anything. So it'd be another interesting metric for them to throw into the mix, to have all of us scramble over trying to get the biggest number of most watched videos on the platform.
That's crazy. I wonder why YouTube got rid of that. I don't know. It's surprising. And it's funny to look at old features that are on here too. And they had friends. Friends was a thing, which I never, to this day, I never understood the difference between friends and subscribers. There was like a real nuance there that I think friends could maybe post comments on your channel or
That's
something.
right. That
There
I
was like a,
completely forgot about that. There was a separate
yeah.
friend. Was
And
that
so
just
then,
because that was the norm at that time? Like, it was a time of
I
MySpace, and MySpace
guess,
had friends, so they were trying to make it be, you know, kind of
yeah.
similar enough, so therefore the transition was easier for people,
Well, I
perhaps.
know my son, he was, young at the time, probably, well, around then, or maybe 12 or so. And he and his friends, they would use YouTube as kind of like a social network. And on your channel page, you could have a thread of comments just kind of going back and forth. And it was they were real commonly doing that. And I think that was friends. And then eventually YouTube just folded all of your friends into subscribers. But when you had your choice, you could either subscribe to a channel, or you could friend a channel, be a
It's
friend.
funny how that seems like such an appropriate term to call someone who aligns with someone else on a platform like YouTube. And it seemed so fitting during those times that they were called
Yeah.
friends. And
Yeah.
it almost kind of seems fitting that it's not friends anymore, because it does seem to be more about just subscribers and building a community just in order to build the community, but not building in the community in that same kind of way where it's like, I'm making videos over here. There's a few people that, like them, but more so, this is also just a social. There was more of a instead of it just being kind of like a television that you're watching
Right.
other people that you don't really communicate with or be able to contact to. It's more of a watching experience, as opposed to what it kind of started out, which was creators working together, and then you having other friends who were creators, so you would watch their videos and whatnot. But now the term has changed. Now it's a subscriber. Now it's more of a transaction, as opposed to like someone who is a quote unquote friend on a platform.
Right. And I think, looking back on this, that the reason, and I think the subscriber number was by today's standards low, 186 subscribers. I think because people just weren't subscribing. I look at my videos, and these are frozen in time. And I was getting at that point 3,500 views, 4,000 views, 2,000 views, 5,000. That's a lot of views
So many.
considering 186 subscribers. So there was just, I think there was just so many, so so many fewer, I don't know how to say that. There wasn't as many videos on the platform, and maybe that was just easier to find videos. I just don't know. But it's, if I feel like I have dementia or something, because I can't, when I go back and I think about it, I can't really recall my own timeline of when I gained subscribers, when I hit 1,000, and all of these like milestones. But wow, I would have sworn in a year into this, I would have had more than 186 subscribers.
And didn't you have like 62 videos or something along those lines? Did you mention how many videos you had actually
Yeah,
uploaded?
I had at that point, I posted 24 videos. I had 17 roller coaster videos. And then, oh no, there was 24 woodworking videos, 17 roller coaster videos, and 11 miscellaneous videos. That means I was just still doing like family stuff. And here's another odd thing is that I can see where I had my 2008 family Christmas card. I did a video Christmas card. And at that time, if you wanted to set, I didn't want to put this on my main channel for, I have no idea why. I didn't want to do, I guess because it was just so personal and I was just going to send it out to family. So I had to create a separate channel for one video. And the only way you could create a separate channel is you had to have a different email address. You couldn't create multiple channels under the same email address.
That's right.
And so I had this channel set up with one video on it. Here we are reminiscing about early YouTube.
What a crazy time. What a crazy thought to be putting out dozens and dozens of videos and being so happy about like 1,000 people. Like just trying to wrap your head around. I always used to compare it to like arenas, like a small hockey arena, like not for like a major league sports team, which would hold like 15,000 people, but I would think of like a small arena for like a AAA hockey team or something like that, something that could fit like 2,000 people. Or whenever I'd go to a concert, I'd look around and be like, this many people watched one of our videos, and just being so high on like 5,000 or 1,000 people. I mean, we're in that position now with the podcast. I refresh the stats every 10 minutes to see the
exciting
person who may have, because it just feels so fresh and new, and it feels like this is being done for the thought of drawing a small group of people together. And that was what the motivation was back in those days. You were putting out videos to maybe reach a couple people, and then if you were to really blow the doors off, a couple thousand people. And now we find ourselves being disappointed when the videos don't get 50,000 views
exactly
in the first day.
It does tell me that at that point views were way more relevant than subscribers, because I really don't remember thinking anything about the subscribers at all. I don't remember thinking, oh, I wish I had more. I think now if you started a channel and you had 100 subscribers in a year and you were really trying something, that you're doing something wrong. I don't know.
I think you might be right.
You know what we should do? And this is something we talked about last week. You know how we talk about, what we're going to do next week? And then we say, yes, let's do it. We should introduce ourselves, because
that's true. Because we wanted to do that in the 10th episode. We're in the 11th
right.
episode.
That was our gala 10th anniversary episode, but we forgot about it because there's a lot of people listening who just like, who are these two guys? What's their big deal? So
we certainly have a few people who are like, I know Steve, but this Chad fellow. Fellow.
So explain the deal. Explain the deal with Chad.
All right, here's the deal, everyone. My name is Chad Reynolds. I am the co-creator and executive producer of a YouTube channel called Clean My Space, which my wife and I started in 2008. We uploaded our first video in February of 2011. So we're actually coming up on our 10-year upload anniversary on YouTube. We started it way back in 2008. That's shortly after I discovered YouTube as a platform. Melissa Morso, has a cleaning company. Cleaning company is called Clean My Space.
That's still a big part of your business, isn't it? The physical cleaning company. Yeah.
The physical cleaning company is one that still works to this day. We are one of the more respected cleaning companies here in the city of Toronto, which is a fairly large city. So that entire company and business is doing quite well on its own. And way back in the day, we're getting the Facebook page, and we got the domain and and the most logical thing was like, all right, here's this new kind of platform where they do videos. I don't know how it's going to connect, but let's at least get youtube.com/cleanmyspace or whatever that's going to look like. So we did it, and we sat on it for a little while, not knowing what to do, because even at this time there was zero kind of like those types of how-to videos. A lot of the videos were just like my trip to the zoo, or here's a roller coaster, and there certainly were some people doing some kind of fringe videos, but they had 186 subscribers. They had 186 subscribers.
Thanks, rub it in.
So it's just like, I mean, the platform was completely different back then. We were only doing it because it just seemed to make the most sense. It was that I set up the Facebook page in the exact same day and the Twitter account and all of the rest. Anyhow, fast forward a few years later, and there was a channel on YouTube. I think they are still on YouTube. They're just not as big as they used to be. It used to be a very large website too. It's called eHow.
Oh
And
yeah,
I'm pretty
yeah,
sure they're
sure.
still around.
Yeah, I remember that.
But in the early 2000s and whatnot, in the early part of on the platform, they were the thing as far as like how to. And they had a whole bunch of different channels like eHow Home, eHow Garden, eHow whatever. And their main channel was quite big, and usually their videos would do quite well. But it was literally kind of a take on what 5 Minute Crafts does now, which is just kind of like stock footage or like whatever, and then like a voiceover is like, here's how to clean your toilet and take a brush and da 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 da, and just some low hanging fruit. And it's literally just that was the only kind of stuff being put out there. So we're like, why don't we try to do cleaning videos, but we'll maybe inject a little personality into it or do them slightly different, where the person delivering the information, maybe also I don't know, maybe not telling jokes, but at least is a little bit more entertaining than at the time just like, hi, welcome to how to clean your toilet, grab your toilet brush. And it's like, why don't we try that? So Melissa, all by herself, because this is long before I knew how to do any of this YouTube stuff, for the first like 6 months, shot and edited all of the videos herself. So she made one about how to clean salt stains off of your boots and how to clean a toilet. And then she did some product review videos. And they just kind of started doing well right out of the gate. Again, nothing really quite like that on the platform. So therefore, people kind of saw it and were like, oh, this is very interesting. We put all the videos up thinking that maybe there might be a small percentage of people who live in Toronto who would end up seeing like, oh, they also have this cleaning service, and then use the cleaning service.
Right.
But we were ultimately doing the videos because me and Melissa were just having a lot of fun at this point doing these videos, and no one else was doing them. So we were kind of really enamored by the fact that we could launch a video and get a few hundred views and just be like, wow, that's crazy. Literally, people are very interested in learning how to like make a bed or do all these things. So we doubled down on it. We are entrepreneurs at heart. And we're like, this is a completely separate business model. And that happened very, very early on. We had well under 1,000 subscribers when we started realizing that it's like, this in itself can be like a really interesting opportunity, because it seems like this was in and around the time that I started using YouTube for that exact purpose. I didn't get sucked into the Charlie bit my finger or the cat videos or anything like that. The thing that really enamored me was like how to change a car tire, how to, change the oil in your car. And again, maybe I'm using car examples, but all of those how-to examples. So I'm like, this really has some value. I really think this is going to be a really, really important tool for people. And I think there's a huge opportunity for us to be there in something that is relatable for every single person on the planet, whether you live in a hut in a jungle or in a, the most beautiful house. Whether you're cleaning or not cleaning yourself, you need someone to clean, or you will inevitably come across something that you need to clean. So we kept putting work in. All of the money that we made from the AdSense partner program way back in the day, where you had to like get up to a certain amount of subscribers and a thing, and then interview.
You had to be approved.
And then you had to be approved. And then when you got approved for it, it was mind blowing. I remember the day that, I don't remember what year it was, where they changed it to just like, as soon as you get 500 subscribers, you're automatically approved. And if you have an AdSense account, just connect the two. You have to go through this whole approval.
It was a thing.
Process.
Yeah.
And the big YouTubers, like the biggest YouTubers at the time, were like in that program. I remember Julian Smith talking about this, who's like an internet comedian, but he was really, really early on in the platform. He was literally, I think, either the first or one of the first people to actually be a part of the partner program, where he was making money off of his views. And that was fascinating. It's like, whoa, hold on. Now, not just instead of like making videos, and ideally, if you get enough people to watch a video, you're going to get a small percentage of people that will go and do something else. Now I can actually just make money off of them watching these videos. And it was not downhill, it was uphill from there, but it was all downhill as far as like, we knew what we were going to do, and what we wanted to do. So we buckled down for the next 5 years or so, and literally did nothing aside from put out cleaning videos every single week. I quit my job in January of 2014, I believe it was, right after we reached about 25 or 30,000 subs.
Yeah.
Which I would not recommend to people nowadays. I know there's people with jobs and million subscribers on their channel. However, we were lucky enough to be we got contacted by YouTube and representatives from Google and whatnot. We got to go to their offices in New York and talk in front of other Google employees and huge brands. And this was at the time that YouTube was really taking a huge stance on getting brands to understand that this is where your money should be going.
Right.
We both got kind of big on this platform at a time that it's like TV was where it's at, or like traditional print was still kind of a popular thing. But like trying to tell someone that you could, launch a video on YouTube and get 1 million views just didn't kind of register with brands, and they didn't understand how like influencers did integrations. They wanted commercials. They were trying to get their own YouTube channels started at this time. So you would have like companies like Johnson and Johnson with their own YouTube channel, just uploading commercials, no thought or whatever in the content. So we always saw that there was certainly a huge opportunity for someone on the platform who understands how to be a platform. And we changed it from just trying to be a big, huge cleaning channel to Melissa being a traditional presenter and presenting, like being able to present information. And as much as we always talked about cleaning, we never limited what we were trying to do. Like we ran it as a full production, like we have tens of thousands of dollars of equipment, we have proper license, and even though we are still just making cleaning content, we make content. We put a completely separate production company together, and we've done countless sponsor deals and whatnot. And it really just came down to us taking it seriously at a time where it was just supposed to be a bit of a lark. And that got us to kind of where we are now. In 2017, Melissa wrote a book. We went on a book tour, and that was fantastic.
It's a good book. I like it. There are lots of helpful tips.
And it came at a time where like the YouTube book thing was hot.
Everybody was doing a book.
Everybody who had a YouTube channel with even a small following was getting and especially like cooks, bakers and cooks and whatnot. And you would walk into a bookstore, and at the time, like all your television chefs were like here, and then the other half of the section was just all the YouTubers.
It was crazy. And there's companies, and there probably still is, who will actually write the book for you. All you do, they interview you for like an hour or something. I don't know how long it is, and it's like, okay, pay us, $40,000 or something. I don't know. It's a lot of money, and they just write the book.
We were so excited about the book deal. I mean, we had every reason to be, and we still love the book. But you realize how transactional like a whole book deal is, and you kind of hang your hat on like, wow, this is really going to give me that. Like now I'm a author.
Yeah, there's something about a physical book still on a bookshelf that kind of commands a little bit of respect, like a validity. Like this is something real. I'm an author.
And in the space that Melissa operates in, as in being a presenter or being a person that any kind of brand could come to with anything and be able to kind of speak on it knowledgeably, being a published author or like a best-selling author or whatever that is, that goes so far to the front of your tagline or your your bio. It's quite surprising. That's why a lot of people will start their Instagram bio with, New York Times best-selling author, even though they've had like a massive movie or this or that. For some reason, there's still like this traditional clout associated with being a published author. But yeah, that came at a time that everybody was getting. Now it's Netflix specials. Now you need to be a big Instagrammer, and then you get a Netflix show. So that kind of seems to be the new take on like what the book was to a YouTuber in 2017. In 2020 is now Instagrammers and Netflix.
Eventually, it'll just all be TikTokers.
That's it. We're all going to end up just, what's that dance where you put your hand in?
The flossing.
Yeah. We'll all just be flossing with the backpack kid or whoever started that.
Do you guys do TikTok at all?
So Melissa's really fascinated by TikTok, but Melissa gets fascinated by like that type of stuff. Like something new will come along. She's like, she just really likes to kind of toy with new ideas, and it's wonderful. It's what makes Melissa just so smart. She's so open to anything, and I don't get it. I don't understand it. I find that content is I didn't like Vine. I didn't understand Instagram
I
stories.
tried it a little bit, but the whole, there were like these Vine stars were huge. There were guys and some of those transitioned over to YouTube.
I believe the Pauls The
Yeah,
Pauls started on Vine, I
yeah,
think. Well, the Pauls I think started on Disney or something like that, but they moved
right.
to Vine, and then they moved, took over,
I was
infected
surprised when
YouTube.
I probably 2014 or 15 on at VidCon where they had Vine panels, and these guys were landing heavy duty sponsorship deals to make 5-second videos. It was
Yeah.
crazy, just
Yeah.
crazy. But that all came crumbling down eventually. And you know what happens is a lot of these platforms start now, and then Instagram just does it, and everybody's already on Instagram, so like, we'll just do it there. And I think that's do people I guess people still do Snapchat, right? But with Instagram stories, there's really no reason, I suppose. And now YouTube has their own, well, they've been doing it for a while, their own stories. Now YouTube has what's their TikTok thing called?
Oh, the Reels, I think it's called.
Reels. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's it.
And they have another one.
Oh
You know
no,
what?
no,
You now
it's
need to have the story style one, and now there's a
there's the TikTok
slightly
thing.
separate, but yeah, yeah.
I,
And I
I,
remember hearing about, I remember loving Instagram. Out of all of the social platforms, I love Instagram the most, simply
yeah,
because it was just like pictures. It wasn't politically charged. It wasn't
right.
commentary. It wasn't like, here's a couple of words and that's enough for a piece of content. For the most part, at least the people that I followed, here's a really nice picture, or here's a series of pictures and whatnot. And I remember when they first started talking about stories, and just for whatever reason, not being able to understand why people would want to make
Yeah,
something and spend time, and then 24 hours later it
it's
would be
gone.
gone.
Yeah,
And I remember so many people got behind Snapchat, because Snapchat clearly, I believe, was the thing that kind of
yeah.
led to
They just
Instagram
copied
stories.
Snapchat.
And it's smart because the core of the platform is still the core of the platform, and now you have this other element where you can choose to use the platform with that element or not. So I I'm fine with that. But I remember Snapchat, when Snapchat kind of came about, and all of these big YouTubers and all of these big people who would normally be like, yeah, go follow me on Twitter, because, or well, subscribe to my YouTube channel. But if you're going to go somewhere else, go and follow me on Twitter. And now it's kind of Instagram, da 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 da. But then when Snapchat came up, people were like, this is the jam. Go follow me on. So I don't care about any of that other stuff. I remember the guy from Epic Mealtime,
Hmm.
Harley Morenstein, he did this. He went really hard on it for a very long period of time at kind of the peak of Epic Mealtime, and he drove all these people to Snapchat. I'm like, what are they there for? Like, there's nothing there's no profile that you can land on that is like, okay, you
Hmm.
just kind of get plugged into this person's stream of short disposable content, which they're treating as short and disposable content. And perhaps this is a much larger conversation, because I love conversations about overexposure. I think we are in a space where a lot of people just way overexpose themselves and make them far too accessible. And like, you can see me at every single moment. And here's 24-hour content that's just disposable. Da, da, da. And it never, I would love to hear your opinion on this, because it never sat with me that it made sense that I would put time into making content that was funny or engaging or whatever, knowing that that content is only there to be watched a little bit and then it just disappears, and
Yeah,
there's no
to
real
me,
kind
and
of
I've
archive
used
for it.
I've used Instagram stories, a lot. I don't use Instagram a whole lot. I want to get back to posting more on Instagram. It's just kind of one of those things. I'm like you. I like Instagram, and I'll do some stories of just kind of some fleeting things that I don't really care about. I can't imagine spending a lot of time doing the stories,
Yeah.
but I also can't imagine. I see a lot of people who really go in heavy on all the different platforms as they emerge, and to me, it seems like more of a distraction than an opportunity, and it kind of distracts me from what I'm really trying to do. And I get easily, hey, there's something shiny, and, and I go over to that. And it's hard. I got to try to always keep myself focused on one thing. And so, it's like just deleting most of my social media and all of that. I find I don't need that when I just want to focus on YouTube if I'm going to create content, and then a little bit on Instagram just to kind of keep up with people. And that's about all I can handle. I have never even looked at TikTok. The only TikToks I've seen are channels who post about them on YouTube. People will
Yes.
sometimes post. There's a couple of channels that I like to watch who kind of dissect TikTokers and their videos, I guess, that are kind of funny, so I kind of get a feel for what that is, but it's probably not something that I don't imagine how that could be helpful to what I'm doing here in any way that I can't already do on YouTube. You know, I don't see a real purpose to making that kind of short form content.
Especially when the platform is dependent upon that. Like, again,
Right.
Instagram has it as a feature of a larger platform, which makes sense, and photographers or artists use. But I don't see those same photographers and artists using something like a Snapchat or a Vine with like disposable. And I don't understand. Well, it's not so much that I don't understand. I get it because I'm old and I'm not the demographic who's but whenever I thought about writing something funny or putting a skit together, I thought the longevity of putting something on YouTube or putting something on a platform where it's like, this is a portfolio and this is the work that I have to offer. And it seemed like Vine was about like what I can offer you within a 24-hour period. And the expectation of what I'm getting is different. And it just seems like from like a comedian standpoint to think of like a really funny joke and then have that joke only exist in a space for a period of time. And I don't know about you, but I don't know anybody who goes through people's past saved stories. Like the little, you know, they have the little strip where you can go the reel or whatever it is, and you can go through old. I don't believe anybody does. I mean, I certainly don't.
I don't think
And I'm
that's
not going to go searching for your good content. If you have good content and if you think it's worthy of kind of putting out there, I would think it would make more sense to put that content kind of, that should be your, like when you go to my Instagram profile, within a few pictures, you're going to be able to see what I, you know, like and what I kind of want to put out there, what I want to curate as what my image is on this platform, as it were, if I'm using it for that way. And I didn't get, you know, these young people coming up and being super funny and putting like really funny, like jump cut kind of like things on a platform, which is like whatever. And it's like, that's awesome. But then it just goes away. You have no, you can't like, I don't see people being like, oh, did you see that awesome Vine that like, aside from the ones that clearly go viral and do all of the rest, but like, there's not that shareability that a YouTube video has. Or
I think that it's probably, there's something to be said for ephemeral art that only exists in the moment and then it's gone. You know, there's performance art pieces, there's things like that I'm actually really drawn to, that kind of thing, or like designing some sort of an art project and then just destroying it after. There's Andrew Goldsworthy is one of my favorite artists who creates these like sculptures out of rocks and things and landscape, and then they'll just fall apart, or he'll make artwork that is made out of like leaves on the ground and then they just blow away and they're gone, but he photographs them so they exist in time, you know, at that moment. But I don't think TikTok is really that kind of a thing, because it's not really meant to be consumed as a work of art. I suppose there's people doing it that way, but I don't think they're approaching it with that kind of a mindset. Yeah,
that's true. It is just disposable stuff to have fun, and perhaps that's what I actually miss about the platform and that I don't understand. And that's probably maybe something that,
and it could be that a lot of what we're doing is, and we focus mostly on the business side of YouTube. You know, every time I post a video, I'm always thinking about how is this going to affect the overall channel? How am I going to make money off of it? You know, so I don't know. Have you heard of Quibi?
Quibi.
Quibi.
No.
It's a new, and it's like a mainstream version of these short form media, and it's a subscription service, streaming subscription service that only exists on your phone. And so the videos can only be 10 minutes long, as far as I know, and they're all vertical. You have to watch them vertically only on your phone. But what they've done is somehow they secured funding and got like major studios behind this that are producing actual episodic content for Quibi, which
So
is
I've heard.
interesting. But I don't know if it's not the way and again, this may be because I'm old, you know, but I like to sit on my couch if I'm going to watch a narrative show like that. You know, I like to relax and sit back, and I'm just not into watching movies on my phone, although I know a lot of people will do that. But to me, it's a movie is more of a communal thing. I think it's more fun to watch a movie with people.
I agree. And in the way that you do it. Actually, didn't Casey Neistat try to do something with the old vertical, like disposable beam?
Yeah, what was that called?
Beam. BEME?
Beam.
Or BE?
Yeah, that Beam. It was either Be Me or Beam. I'm not sure how he.
That was it.
Yeah,
and
and
had
it
the
was
office set up, and you really got behind it. And apparently, like you started it on your chest, and you couldn't edit it. That was the thing. Like
yeah.
as soon as you recorded it, it saved it, and then it published it. It just seemed like, and I get it. And Casey Neistat's clearly a talented dude, and I
Yeah.
just don't. The guy from Social Dilemma, Tristan Harris, is on the Joe Rogan podcast and actually speaking about exactly that. I mean, you have Twitter's kind of the same way, where it's just this disposable content, which is hard to like build a portfolio of what you do when when everything is just digested so quickly and forgotten about so quickly. And even if it isn't forgotten about, it literally has an expiry date on it now. It's just disposable, quick, flip, 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 flip. And they talk about this in the Social Dilemma, where it's like, what's loading up, what's going to be coming next is exactly what you want it to be. So you
Yeah.
end up getting yourself caught in your own little echo chamber, which is separate from maybe what you're talking about, which is like when I want to sit down and watch and be entertained, I'm going to do it on YouTube. I'm going to do it by watching a movie, or I'm going to do it by watching Netflix. And again, maybe this is us showing our age, but I can't imagine sitting down and the viewing experience for an hour and a half being 150,000 little short videos about this, about that, random, da da da. He talks about car crashes, how when you're driving on a road and you see a car crash, everybody wants to everybody will look at the car crash, whether
Sure.
whether that's something that you like looking at or whether something really makes you not want to look at it, you still end up looking at it. So he said the algorithms for social media are essentially in a position where they can just keep feeding you car crashes. Arguably, it should just be nothing but car crashes, because
Yeah.
and then you realize how a lot of YouTube's best practices over the year have been about extending the viewing time and extending it. It doesn't matter if it's quality anymore. It matters about just getting people to watch stuff and then getting them to watch more stuff and then more stuff and more stuff.
Isn't
And
it funny how that's changed, by the way? The length, it used to be the shorter you could make your video on YouTube, the better off you were going to
yes,
be, healthier your channel is going to be, the more views you were going to get, the more YouTube liked it. But then they started making this shift towards longer format videos. And in some ways I feel like I'm still kind of caught in that. I like to watch shorter videos, and if I
yeah.
look at a video and it's like 25 minutes long, I kind of think, ugh, do I really want to get into this? You know?
Yeah, it's true. And I think we're kind of incubating, I guess, what is working. And I mean, one of the larger points that they make in the social dilemma is it's not really about what it is that works. It's just about the fact that it works. So they
Yeah.
keep hammering that home. And you have people with, 300,000 tweets, but no one can really pick one thing that makes this person stand out, aside from the fact that they just continually have something to say
But
every single
somehow
day,
they
and they're accessible and you can see them and it's quick and you can do it. And I can get your bite-sized opinion and I can know everything about you and I can flip you off, swipe right or swipe up or whatever, and I can move on to the next thing because we have a very shortened attention span and we have a very whatever. So sometimes when a show like The Queen's Gambit comes up, where it's
Mhm.
this well thought out, da da da. But again, further to your earlier point, that's not what these people are doing on these platforms.
Yeah.
But then again, what platform is kind of sustaining that? What's the next big social platform that takes a step back away from disposable, quick, kind of like just like swipe like content?
I
Because
don't
I
think it's
can't think
gonna
of anything
I don't think
since
it's gonna
YouTube.
happen. It's not
And I
gonna
think
happen.
that's why YouTube is the number 2 largest, whatever. I was watching an interview with Grace Helbig, who
Right.
was a massive YouTuber back in the day, and she
Mhm.
still has a YouTube channel.
She
She
kind of
just
got more into
podcasting.
podcasting, right? Yeah.
She has her podcast, and I think she's done quite a few episodes, and she has guests on, and she seems to be very happy in her space and all of the rest. But she was talking about exactly that. She now literally only uses YouTube as a tool, how to pump
Right.
up a flat tire, how to like make a
Yep.
recipe, how like that functional how-to space. And it's not, and here's someone who literally did just commentary and comedy
Yeah.
videos and reaction videos and whatever it was. Like, she was on top of it, and she's a truly, truly funny person.
I
But
watched that video too that she had posted about, and you sent me the link to that, and I found myself agreeing with that's kind of the way I am too. If I need to figure out how to, one time I needed to replace a seal on our clothes dryer, and sure enough, there was a video on YouTube that showed exactly how to replace that particular seal on there, you know. And so these are the kind of things that YouTube is always handy for having. And it's also one of the reasons why your channel is going to be, you know, evergreen and always relevant, is because none of those topics are ever going to just get stale and die out, because people will always need to know how to, you know, clean mud off the floor or whatever. There's
exactly.
always going to be that thing. It's not like, you know, a tech thing that's going to be outdated in a year or something. So it's a good position to be in, to have a channel like that. And I think that's why YouTube has longevity, is because it's grown into different things.
Right.
I'm not thrilled with the professional Hollywood productions that are moving into YouTube space too much, and the late night, you know, talk shows that are just posting clips and just killing it. But as long as there's still room for the other part of YouTube, I'm okay with that.
If you can still have a small YouTube creator with 1,000 subscribers be able to have a platform to be able to put out a documentary or like a film or like whatever it may be, and have that platform host it, hold it, and almost act as a portfolio for your work, if that kind of makes sense, and making it easy for people to come and find you on a platform where I can quickly find your best work, and you have the ability to kind of showcase it in that way. And as much as you say, and I agree with you, like there's a whole bunch of television stuff and movie trailers and whatnot. If that's what's needed on the platform to help retain that, then so be it. Clearly, because that's the stuff that pays for that small creator to be able to upload an hour-long documentary on their channel, which will only get 3 views, because of course the Avengers will spend, you know, $100 million on a YouTube ad campaign. So I get it. I get it.
Right.
But you know, you don't want, that just doesn't seem to be there for other platforms. And that's why it was always surprising to see people who were kind of big on a platform where it's like, this is long lasting content, which almost acts as like a portfolio. And this ends up being a business, and you understand it from the business standpoint. And I guess maybe ultimately that's why I didn't get it. I didn't get it from a business standpoint. It's like, why would I take so much time to make something and I can only sell it on the shelf for a little, you know, a short period of time?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's from a business point of view. I want everything to have staying power, you know.
You said I'm sure your videos are in quite the same position that ours are, where the vast majority, like 80% of the views that we get every single day, are from archive video from years ago.
Amazing. It's amazing what people find on some of those older videos, you know. With, what did I say the other time, about over 600 videos I've posted? And I forget about some of those, and yet people will find those and leave comments, and it's amazing to see that, really. And it's because there's nothing I'm doing that's ever, you know, going to become out of date. It's still relevant no matter how long it goes.
I think we need an entire episode on evergreen content, but I digress.
We do. I got a channel recommendation for you. We need we need the jingle thing. Remember the little ding, 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 ding.
It's time for a channel recommendation. We'll go with that right now.
I'm going to go with that. I'm going to take that out, and then I'm going to auto tune it. No, not that you were out of tune or anything. It sounded better than ones I do. I do some of those from my own channel sometimes. I started doing that years ago. I came up with a non-copyrighted woodworking song or something like that, where I could just, so now I just write my own jingles that I just rip off the tunes for. I think I told you about that.
And I think we are actually going to put together a whole set of jingles for our podcast.
I did the one I have recently is it's the, oh shoot, woodworking. I'm totally blanking on what it is, but I just totally ripped it off from South Park, the sexual harassment panda.
Sexual harassment panda.
Right. So I just changed the words to a woodworking thing. So anyway, go ahead.
For those of us just joining, the first channel of the week was me It was our first ever, and it was How to Basic. So
Oh,
I've
right.
been on the edge of my seat actually for a week now, wondering what you're going to pick.
Well, last week and we still aren't really, is this like, do we recommend these channels? Are these really great channels? I'm not really sure what this is, but to me, it's a channel that somehow is relevant on YouTube in some way. And How to Basic was a good way to start it off last week. And when you said, wow, I wasn't expecting to spend this much time thinking about this, I found myself in the exact same situation. I'm like, well, how do I want my first channel to be? And so what I picked, let's see if you figure this out. You might, and I've actually mentioned this on the show before. That probably gives it away. But this is a channel that has, let me pull this up here, 6.75 million subscribers. And this is definitely an OG YouTuber. In fact, she started her channel May 6th, 2006. So that's 14 years of making YouTube channel or YouTube videos. And you want me to just tell you who she is? You have any guess?
Like,
And here's the thing is I can't really describe what the channel is. It's sort of mostly tech today. She's kind of like leaning towards like tech reviews and things.
you know what?
Hmm.
Only because you said you mentioned her previously.
Yeah.
However, if I were to really think about it, I probably would have
would've
thought of probably the first female that I can associate with this platform
Yep.
that I can think of would be iJustine.
iJustine. Yeah.
Yeah, what a perfect follow-up.
Okay, so here's the thing with excuse me. Here's the thing with iJustine is this is a channel that I've subscribed to for years, but I don't ever really watch it. It's kind of I mean, I maybe watch one or two videos of hers a year. It's kind of odd that way, but I have so much respect for what she's done with that channel in a lot of different ways. First, like I said, she's like one of the original YouTubers. She was posting content like less than a year probably after YouTube started. So there were hardly anybody posting videos. And she was doing real short videos, uh, a minute or two long at the time. Today, she has over 2,000 videos on her channel. And I met her a few years ago in New York. We were working on a project with American Express, and I got to talk to her for a while. We were working with Carrie Byron, was on the Mythbusters, and we were just doing these like hacks, I guess you would call them, And oh my God, iJustine is just the nicest person you can imagine. She is just one of these people that is just as nice as she appears on her channel. But I remember asking her, I said, how would you describe your channel? What is it exactly you do? And she she kind of paused for a moment. She's like, I don't really know what it is. I just like that people watch it. And I thought, oh, it's really kind of interesting because what she does is kind of contrary to everything that you and I have talked about and everything that the YouTube experts talk about, how your channel has to be focused, and today even more hyper focused on one particular thing. And so her channel is a vlog. She does skits. She does a lot of tech reviews, of product reviews of the latest iPhone, the latest Galaxy phone, the latest PlayStation, everything. And she'll do unboxing videos. She pretty much she does cooking videos occasionally on there that are kind of funny because she kind of is not a good cook, and she does all of this stuff on this channel consistently for over 14 years, cranking out this content, and she's still generating about 40,000 new subscribers a month on that channel, which is really good for
she's still getting really good. I see. Every so often, if she has the right like phone that she's whatever, I've seen her trend.
And I think that's the bulk of what it is people tune in for her tech reviews. And she'll get, even today, she'll get 1.5 million view video, 1 month, and then she'll drop out to like 50,000, 60,000 views on a video, which is more of kind of what you would expect. But she's just like consistently getting these hit videos after all this time. The other thing that I really admire about just here's before that, here's another thing I asked her when I met her in New York, because this was a long time ago. Do you remember the show on, you probably don't because your child was not born yet. There was a show on Nickelodeon called iCarly.
I know of the show only because it was a huge show, but no,
Yeah.
I
Wyatt
didn't,
used to
haven't
watch
seen
it,
any.
and we used to watch it with him, and it was a really cute show. It was really well done, and Miranda Cosgrove was in that, from School of Rock. And so I asked her, I said, did you copy them or did they copy you? And she's like, she kind of bristled with it. She was like, no, they were like basically got the idea of iCarly from iJustine. She was first, came up with that thing in 2006, and then iCarly came out in like 2007 or 8. So I was like, wow, Nickelodeon basically ripped off your idea.
That's pretty cool. I mean, not cool in one way.
Little,
I mean, it was at a time that everything was an I, because iPad, iPhone, whatever.
I
But
suppose it could
she was
be
the first that she did, like, I'd never
that
seen
and
it
then your
associated
name.
with a person's name, and that's
And
what.
that you're doing a live web show kind of thing. And even though the one on, even back then, the live web show they were doing on iCarly wasn't like anything like reality, it was they didn't understand YouTube or anything, so they were doing like the Hollywood version of what a web show would be. People would go to the website
The
and
website.
watch it on your
Just log
website,
in.
and you had to be there at a specific time. There wasn't. It was a weird.
It's like watching TV.
That was a very weird thing. But the other thing, and what I was going to say that I really respect about Justine, is that she is real private about her personal life. And so she's always compartmentalized that, which is, over all these years, she's never gotten involved in drama. I don't think she ever really talks about her anything personal other than her sisters are on the show with her sometimes, or she'll visit them back in Pennsylvania or wherever they live now. And now it's like she lives in Santa Monica, so you get to nice shots of Santa Monica. She's just like super, super friendly and nice to everybody. And she always has this positive, just rosy outlook on everything. When you watch an iCarly,
See,
iJustine video, you know what you're going to get, and you're not going to get tears. She's not going to be apologizing for stuff. She's not going to any of this stuff. She just stays doing what she knows works for her, and I totally respect that.
She's family friendly.
Oh yeah,
she's been relevant for such a long time in the same space, so she stayed in her lane very well,
and she's done everything. She was one of those people that came out with the book, and did she's got the book. In fact, that might be a newer book. She's got a app out which does tech stuff. I'm not really sure what it is, and I think she does a podcast too. So once again, it's a good idea to have this diversification of what you're doing, and having YouTube as your hub. But she's done a lot of stuff, TV work, and she's one of these people who seems to say yes to a lot of things, which is that was always kind of my strategy, is avoid saying no. If somebody asks you, hey, would you be on my podcast? Would you be on? Just say yes. You don't know where that's going to lead.
Right.
It's always a good idea to try to say yes as often as you can.
And just to try kind of new, interesting, different things for the experience of it, and not worrying so much about what the results of something are going to be. Like joining a podcast, because like, hey, this might be an interesting conversation, as opposed to like, no, I won't do yours because no one listens to your podcast, or no one's about, or I'm just on YouTube, so I don't have anything. She's a person, I've seen her do a bunch of stuff. I know she's in commercials and she does traditional television work. Perhaps she's even done movies or whatnot. But she's had a really nice, clean image. She's safe for kids. She stayed in her lane as far as the tech reviews are concerned. Like, those are still relevant. And even with 6.6 million subscribers, that does not guarantee you that your specialty is still going to last 10 years later, especially now in an environment where there's 100 or 100,000 different tech reviewers, and there's channels which specialize in it specifically, and perhaps also some gender biases, especially early on, being kind of a woman in the tech field, and having an opinion about phone at the same time, where it's like, I'll wait till Soldier knows best, or whatever, someone else who they'll probably know better. But she's marched on.
I
And
think that a lot of that has to do, and we'll have to ask Melissa about this when we get her on the show, is that I think women have to almost uh prove themselves to
yeah, you have to work
for
so much
a lot
harder.
more, because I remember seeing some of those older Justine videos, and so many of the comments were, sexual comments,
Yeah.
or show us this, or just kind of berating her, like, what do you know about this? Because she's beautiful, But then now I'm looking at most of those, and people are talking about what she's talking about. They're talking about
Right.
the tech and the product. So it's like you have to get to this point where people are taking you seriously for the most part, which is a shame. It has to be that way
It's a shame
still.
that you have to like get 6 million subscribers and be literally the most significant and important person in the field and force your way to be like, hey, you have to take me seriously because look, like, I
Right.
have been doing this for so long and whatnot. But it's a testament to like staying true, because I'm sure it was very easy,
Yeah.
especially at a time like she went through when she was not plateauing, but like she was like certainly not as aggressively growing as she was earlier in her
Right.
career. But the stuff that was doing bonkers on this platform, even just up to a couple of years ago, was like family vlogging, get your kids involved, like bring a thing, like start doing a baking show and da da da. And it's like for her to continue to be like, no, that's my private life. And I totally respect people who keep their private lives that private. People like PewDiePie or
Yeah.
Justine's a great example. It's like, I don't need to sit here and talk about, you don't need apology videos. I don't need to like, I'm
Mhm.
not putting anything in, which I like, oh, now I need to take this video down. Tech reviews, tech reviews and some funny stuff.
Yeah.
And further to your earlier point, I love the thought that she also was just like, she did skits or like
Mhm.
whatever kind of like cool trending videos were happening on the platform, or she would do like challenges and stuff like
And
that. So
she still does these skits. She was doing, and I was just kind of looking through her channel, and just this past week she did this. I think it's probably a deal she's doing with Verizon or something, 5G. And so she did this, I think it's just the goofiest thing, where she's dressing up, and maybe it was kind of sort of tied into Halloween, but she's dressed up in like this, a camouflage suit that looks like she's all, a bush or a grass or something, and she's running around Santa Monica trying to find the elusive 5G. And it is just the corniest thing. But that's what her videos have been like that. If you go back and look at her very first videos, they're like, those were the kind of corny humor that she was doing. And there's something very just comforting about seeing that, and to see a channel that it has no controversy. I mean, I've tried to do that with my channel. I don't swear in it. I never have. I've
oh, but you do Halloween episodes that trigger people.
well,
And I
there's that.
I personally am not a fan of that Ouija board. I'm still waiting for the
It's
the
going
the
to
apology
explode.
video for that Ouija.
That's what I should do next year, an apology video. I like how these
Do
last
a
three,
haunted apology video. That's a great idea.
because the apology videos may not be a thing next year. I'll have to just cancel myself. Here's a weird thought, and this always kind of freaks me out, is that, and this isn't about the Ouija boards, back to iJustine, is that there's people who are 20 years old who are probably watching her reviews who were 6 when she started her channel.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's a weird thought. Yeah. That they, like, people could have grown up with her. Weird.
We, in a smaller sense, I came across a comment on the Clean My Space channel just like a couple weeks ago, and it was on our newest video, and it was from someone who was like, I started watching you when I was like 11 years old or something like that, and now I'm moving out into my first place, and you're the place that I'm coming to get all of my da 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 da. It was just like, wow, you were following us when you were 11, and
That's
now you're kind of like,
amazing.
that's amazing.
I think we met because either did you post a comment on my channel, or did I post a comment on your channel? I don't remember.
Let story time.
Okay.
Let's talk for only a minute about the day that you left a comment on a Clean
Oh,
My
okay. So it
Space
was me.
video,
Yeah.
and I was on cloud nine for that day because I was watching your videos for I don't even know how long, and I don't I don't even know how I was subscribed or whatever, but you were just that channel that whenever
Yeah.
you released a video, I would watch it. And I never commented on a video, I never whatever. And then randomly, yes. And Melissa had her iPad. She's like, Steve Ramsey's the guy. She's like, yeah. She's like, he left a comment, and I was like, giddy. I was literally fanboying over Steve Ramsey commenting on a video, and that's, I think, what led me to go to watch whatever one of your most recent videos were. And I left a comment, and I don't even know if anything went beyond that, because we ended up meeting at VidCon
Probably
face to face
VidCon.
for the very, very first time.
Remember what year that was? 2013 or 14?
2014, maybe.
14. Man, that seems like, just in some ways that seems so long ago, and in other ways it just seems like yesterday. I don't know, it's weird.
Like that was like VidCon was completely different back then.
Yeah.
And yeah, both of our channels were very different back then. But no, it was you leaving a comment. I was never that person. I would just fan people. Now, it was actually because of you leaving that comment which made me change that with me. I ended up going to a bunch of other people who either were like up and coming, who I thought were doing a great job, and would start leaving comments on their videos. And you actually really, I remember us having a conversation about talking about how many people you're subscribed to. Like your inbox, like your feed is just always full with really, really fresh videos, because you're literally subscribed to hundreds and hundreds of channels. And I never was that way. It was always just like a one-way kind of thing. But that is part of YouTube, which I realized is really, really cool, that actually you can kind of have these interactions.
Yeah, I wish more YouTubers would leave comments on other channels. Sometimes there's a divide, and YouTubers, even if they're not even like huge YouTubers or something, once they start posting videos, they don't bother responding to comments ever. They don't comment on other videos. And I just think it's, if I see a video I like, I think it's good to leave a comment about it. Just this past week, I subscribed to a channel that has like 186 subscribers, because I found out about her. She reviews horror movies, but I found out about her and I thought, oh my God, this is really a good channel. And so, I left a comment and said, thank you. I like this. And then I kind of wonder, she replied, thank you and everything. And I doubt if she probably looked at the name Woodworking and thought, well, that's weird. Why is this guy commenting on that? But she probably didn't look to see, anything more about my channel. But I think it's just important to leave comments.
It is. It's part of the whole community. It's part of what actually we were just spending all this time talking about when they used to be called friends. And it literally was about going and watching your friend's video and supporting it, at least to begin with, that way. Like having a little audience of people who would watch your stuff and be like, whatever, that's pretty cool. I always thought that we were too cool for it, because we had a YouTube channel and had subscribers, and I felt like it almost took away from, and I'm only being honest because I'm not ashamed about thinking something so silly, but I honestly thought that. I'm like, it would take away the coolness if we just flippantly leave comments. And it's like, oh wait, that's not what this is about.
It's kind of the opposite.
And it took me feeling that from you and being like, wow, like he would have no reason, like it was on a cleaning video too. So I see Steve.
I wonder what you were cleaning. It must have been something, really good that I needed to help with. But it was probably one of those videos that it really helped. It was something that I really was looking for at that time. I don't remember what it was, but
well, you can rest assured that I would have never been so open about wanting to do comments and like figuring out ways to use the platform that we have to help other people, or like show like, hey, this is great, or like being encouraging in that way. It would have never happened unless you like, I felt it firsthand when you did it. It was like, oh, that feels amazing. I certainly want that to be the thought about what people think about Clean My Space. So to this day, we always answered comments. That was always a very important thing, even if it's just like a thanks for watching, just to take the time to, whatever, that always seemed important. But going on someone else's videos, man, that's crazy. Now I do it all the
time. Evan, is it Evan
Carmichael?
Evan Carmichael. Yeah,
that's right.
He, you might have done a show with him before. I know I did a show with him before on Tim's.
He did Tim Schmoyer's Entrepreneur podcast.
I think I was on there with him.
You were on season 1, I believe.
Right. And I met him.
And Evan.
And I've talked to him a couple of times, but he still, I think now he's got like 2 million subscribers.
He's over 2 million subs.
It's huge. His channel still answers every single comment. He has people who help him with that now. And another thing he does, and he was showing me this when we were in Palm Springs last year. We were at the airport together, and we were talking about our channels, and he was telling me that he everybody who contacts him on Instagram, who will send him a message, he actually sends them a video response, a personal video response, like a 5-second video. And he's, oh yeah, here's a couple right here. And he would hold up his phone and he'd say, hey, I really thanks for your comment. I really appreciate, good going, blah. That's it. Send. That's all it takes.
Yep.
And he was like, this is faster than actually just responding by text in a way. You know, he can just fire these things off all at once. And the amount of goodwill that generates is amazing. Just to have somebody who you admire, you gain information from,
Look
that
up
you just
to.
like, and then to have them take the time to send you a personal video is pretty darn cool.
So it's smart for two reasons. One, it's like the person receiving it is like, wow, this is literally, this person took time to like do this, and that is an incredible way to respond to a fan or someone who's interested or giving you a compliment on what you're doing. But it also serves him very well because he's in that space of personal improvement and motivation and inspiration and all of the rest. So like that just kind of personifies that. It works well as far as like the quote unquote not character, but like what, like the persona that's being kind of presented in what he does.
Right.
Evan might be a great person to get on the podcast,
Yeah,
if not for any other reason aside from he releases like 5 videos a day. And I remember when we were doing the podcast, he literally shot like 10 videos a day or something like that. And they're kind of like, you know, builder basic listicle style videos, or he'll use motivational speeches.
Highly motivational. Yeah. If we have him on the show, we won't even need to talk. We'll just let's set him off and go. He'll just talk.
we can leave and go get a snack.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I like.
Yeah, no, but he has thousands of his. So just I remember finding that out and being like, I admire your hustle. I admire the fact that your approach is just like, and I think he's well over 2 million subs now. So he's
and it's because because that kind of content of just that motivational stuff, and he talks about YouTube and whatnot on there too. He kind of puts his money where his mouth is, so to speak. If you're going to be talking about, you know, increasing your presence and all this stuff, then you got to live that life. And that's exactly what he does. And it's such a good example. And I can't possibly answer every comment, or I don't really even think that's necessary for my channel. And I certainly don't do although I considered doing the video thing there for a little bit, because he got me so fired up just talking one-on-one with him about it, because he was so excited about it. But we could take a lot away from that I think every channel should engage at some level with its audience. It's super important that you can't, I think in a lot of ways, YouTube, we're still kind of have this holdover from 100 years of one way media communication, you know. And even though this has been on, you know, YouTube's been around for so long, still a lot of people producing content, and they just think, all I want to do is just kind of copy what's worked on TV, and we're going to produce this show and put it out there, and that's that.
And he is a great example of someone who just is firing off well, you know what, we should reach out, or Evan, if you're listening, on the off chance that Evan Carmichael's listening.
He's too busy responding to all of his
and
comments.
making more videos. It's very true. Here we are,
right,
dropping the ball with our 1 video a week. Who do we think? Actually, you're not there. You're 1 video every 2 or 3 days now, aren't you?
I'm slowing down now, which is something I actually kind of I feel almost guilty in a way. And
are you going to let this like organically just kind of wind down? Are you
right? And it was just
what feels right for you to be the new schedule?
Yeah, and I guess my channel has always kind of been this way of it kind of goes through these different phases, and it just felt like when I started the lockdown woodworking series, it felt right. And it felt like I needed this outlet to just, and at that time it was every single day. I was just posting a video and people would follow, and they loved it. And the channel growth was amazing with that. But as the time went on, once I got to my 28 weeks later special, you know, 6 months of lockdown, that was the last one I did of that series. And I didn't, make an announcement like this is the end of I just thought I think it's run its course. I think I've done with this what there is. The lockdown isn't the same as it was, even though
Right.
there's parts of the country and parts of the world that are re-locking down now. It's it's evolved. It's not quite the same as it was back in March and April, where
Right.
it felt like we all just needed something. And I felt like, not to toot my own horn, but I felt like this was sort of my job, is kind of to provide this something to people who wanted to just tune in, to have some level of normality in their lives, some sort of consistency. And I just think it's run its course. And so now I kind of feel like I'm not producing as much content, and some people are asking, "Well, where are you?" And it's like been a week since I posted a video. Are you okay? And I don't know. I guess I'm just at, so I'm kind of, and I still want to do that kind of content, but if I'm going to be posting like only once or twice a week, it has to be leaning towards woodworking,
Right.
more serious woodworking content. Otherwise, it's going to be a 1 week of answering, looking at your mail, and then the
Yeah.
next week of, and that's not going to cut it. So I'm working. It's evolving right now, I guess.
It's nice to sometimes be in a position to be able to understand that something can be bookended and closed
Yeah.
off, and it acted for what it needed to act. Like it did what it needed to do for the time. And continuing it would either be disingenuous, because as you say, lockdowns are different now. So even if you were to go back down into lockdown, people are watching with a different, and it's fascinating. Perhaps we should talk a little bit more about creating content during COVID, because we
Yeah.
found this weird responsibility because we talk about cleaning. So it's like,
Yeah.
wow, now's the time that we should be helping people with how to make your own hand sanitizer and how to disinfect your whatever. Like we have a lot of content, but then we were really torn about, like, are people tuning in to talk about something else during this time? Like,
Right.
are they being inundated? So now they're turning to YouTube and their other creators to talk about what they talk about, but maybe not everything needs to be. We started realizing that all of our videos started like, now that we're all hanging out at home a lot more,
Yeah. Yeah.
here's all these new problems that are coming now that we're locked down. Here's the new,
Yeah.
now with the new norm. And we were like, we don't, you know, I don't know if this is necessarily what people are looking for when they turn to our content. This
Yeah.
self-awareness of like, oh, we're in this place and now we're doing this. We can still do the same thing, but perhaps we should just present it like a
I think
video. And we had
that's,
many conversations where it was just like, we want people to get the same information, even if it is about something which is to do with COVID or lockdowns or whatever. Can we do it without being like, the only reason we're doing this is because it's lockdown and COVID and
right.
da da da? It's like,
Right.
no, here's a video about hand sanitizer, and let's make it entertaining and let's make it whatever. And let's not talk about the reason why we need this because COVID, COVID,
Thank you.
COVID.
Thank
Right.
you.
And
That was,
we were really, really torn because we had people being like, we're turning to you and we need actual information right now, especially hand washing and hand sanitizing. And there's a lot of half truths about disinfecting and whatnot. And then we also found ourselves in a position where it's like we had to go and take a video down from 2 years ago where we had a DIY hand sanitizer recipe because the alcohol content was 10% less than what the CDC was
oh,
recommending this time around. And obviously we didn't make a video 2 years ago thinking that, a pandemic would question whether or not whatever. But that video during the first few days of the lockdowns ended up getting hundreds of thousands of views, and we just needed to take it down because it was like, whoa, hold on, this isn't like a completely accurate
yeah.
recipe. It'll work, but clearly we want to like abide by this. So we put another one up, and then we didn't launch it. We
Mhm.
listed it as an unlisted video with a link that we mentioned in another video, because we didn't want to just endlessly upload, here's more COVID content, here's more hand sanitizer, more everything, and da da da. And people being like, I don't want to talk about this. I'm not looking for Clean My Space to be my COVID headquarters.
Right.
I want what was I remember from you guys, just being able to watch a video.
Yeah, that was kind of a, realization I had early on when I started doing my lockdown videos is I knew that, and I think you took the right tact with that, is that I didn't want to talk about COVID at all, because people, if anything, people don't want to hear about that
Right.
while they're watching my videos. But I wanted it to be clear what I was doing at a point. And a guy left a comment, a real nice comment on one of my videos. And this was early on when I was building a printer stand, and he said, I really like this series, and it's clear that the printer stand is a really good project, but really what you're talking about is something completely different. And I can't exactly express how he said that, but it was because what I was doing is trying to give people a distraction. And so it was, sure, it was about the printer stand, but really it wasn't about that. It was about just trying to find something that is relatable, that you can just kind of follow along on a daily basis. And it felt really good to do that. But at no time did I ever want to get bogged down in or even mention the pandemic, or
Yeah.
especially any of the politics or anything that go along with it. But by doing what I was doing, it was alluding to that. And so people understood what it was about. Hell, the title of the show, Lockdown Woodworking, pretty much
Yes.
explains what
Yes.
that was. And, some people got really upset that I was calling that Lockdown Woodworking. They didn't like that title at
Was it
all.
the people who are just being triggered? I mean, we released a video about face masks, and we triggered people who were just
I
like,
think it was
literally the
some of that.
thumbnail was Melissa wearing a mask, and people are just like, "Why are you wearing that on your?" Like, I get why,
Yeah.
okay, you're getting triggered just by the subject,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm that's what made the package perfect, though, as
Mm.
far as your content was concerned, because it's like, yeah, I'm in this position where I need to figure out how to do what I do with the current
Right.
restrictions
I
and,
think that the thing,
environment.
what I didn't want to do was to continue on like I have always been doing. It didn't
Right.
feel right. And there was a lot of guys in the woodworking and makerspace just kept cranking out the exact same, here's this week's project, and like no mention of anything going on. And like I said, I don't have to mention it, but I definitely acknowledged what's going on. And if nothing else, in future years, I have this block of material to look back on and think, I did something
Yeah.
then that I
Yeah.
think was relevant and sort of important. And I get people who are still sending me actual mail. I've got a stack of it over here, and they send me stuff all the time. That's another thing I think it would be fun to talk about sometime, because it totally makes everything I do worthwhile when I
Yeah.
get mail and things that people make for me, little things, and they'll send them to me from all over the world, and they'll send notes and they'll say, thank you so much for doing this lockdown series. I didn't know what to do. I was at home, and every day it just kind of gave me a little bit of comfort to be able to watch this thing. And uh, I don't know, it made me feel good. But now I'm kind of, like I said, in this little transitional stage where I'm not exactly sure what I want to do. I'm going to post a video today, which is going through some of that mail. And then I've got another one coming up. You know what I'm doing? I'm taking one of your ideas. I'm doing the 7 habits.
Hey,
I,
excellent. Seven
I like the
habits of
idea of
highly
habits.
effective woodworkers. Let's
It's going to
pitch,
be
let's
seven
pitch the title.
habits. 7 habits. Oh, you know what? It's seven uh simple habits you can do in your workshop to increase your productivity, except said way better than I just said it right there.
That's a long ass title.
No, that's not the time. I can't think of things like that very well when I'm on the spot, but that's basically it. It's like 7 simple things you can do that will increase your productivity, that don't cost you any money.
Okay, before we go, I want to ask you, when you have an idea for a video, how does that idea present itself in your head?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Or more so, sorry, okay, however it gets presented, how do you record that video idea?
Okay, so here's an interesting thing: is I don't usually, what I have in my head comes out totally different from the way it ends up being. And it often starts with writing out what I want to do, especially if it's a kind of a more scripted thing.
Mhm.
I usually come out with an idea, and by the time I actually start thinking it through, it's totally different than what I ended up starting with. Especially like those Halloween videos are a good example. I started this last Halloween episode. I really wanted the whole thing to be about the neighbor of the beast. I thought that was going to be funny, but really, once I started writing, and I thought, well, that's just like a gag. That's not really a whole thing, you know. And so then that I just left that in there as just a one-off gag, and I don't know. It's interesting to see. I like to see how my thoughts evolve, and I often find that a lot of times I won't get started on something until I actually start something.
Isn't that funny?
Because and I can sit around and think about something, and then I get that, what is it, paralysis of
Yeah.
analysis kind of thing. I think too much about it. And then if I actually just start either writing or shooting or building, then it starts to make sense. Same with I'm designing an actual project. They always start off way different than they end up, because I just start moving things around in a 3D space, and then it starts to come to me. But you know what's another thing I find is that I have to have that thing that I'm going to be doing the next day for me to really be excited about getting out of bed in the morning. And it is a really odd thing that sure, I'll get up in the morning, but unless I have something real specific that I want to do, I don't get out of bed quite as eagerly.
It becomes all encompassing. That's what
Yeah.
that's when I know I have a good idea, because I can't shake
Yep.
it. Or like you said, you get really excited about it. And very much similar to what you were just explaining, it'll only evolve in my head to a certain point. As in, usually I'll get a what I think is a great idea, and it'll stay in the same shape in my head, and it'll expand and grow, and I can whatever, but it kind of stays in the same shape. And then as soon as you start either writing it down or start working on it, it's amazing how it starts that way, and then it just like moves into something sometimes completely
Yeah.
different.
It's really,
And that's
it's
the thrilling thing,
amazing.
that
It is.
once you start working on it, it forms its. I think it was Michelangelo or whatever that said that I'm not making a statue or like a figure. I'm just chipping away the parts that aren't the figure.
Right.
And it was such
Yeah.
a like
Yeah.
mind
Yeah.
mess to think about. Like, you're not creating something, you're chipping away all of the stuff to allow this thing to reach its kind of final form. And that's the exciting thing that actually,
It
gets
is.
me out of bed with the extra pep in the
And
step.
now
The reason why I asked is because all video ideas to me come literally all I think about. I have a list of just titles.
yeah.
It's literally just titles. 7 habits for a for
Yeah.
a cleaner home. And that'll just resonate. And then the whole video will just be shaped off of what, the concept of the title is. And I don't know if that's just because right now I'm in a big space of just titles and thumbnails, but that's literally how I can think and conceptualize an entire video just by like, yeah, that's what the title's
It's
going to be.
exciting, isn't it? I think that it all just comes down to just diving in and starting something. You have to
Yes.
take that first step. You can't, even if you're not completely prepared. I mean, that's kind of this podcast, really. Every time we start our podcast, I always kind of think I'm not fully prepared. And yeah, I mean, we were going to talk about a lot of other stuff today, but here we are at the end of the show and we never got to it. But I'm totally fine with that, because we know we've got another day we can talk about it.
We do. And actually, we also have a guest coming up as well.
Next show.
Oh my goodness. We're
That is
really
great.
going to have to get our act together
I'm so nervous.
before our first guest arrives. I'm sure
All
we'll be able
right.
to figure it out.
Hey, everybody, thank you once again for tuning into Chad and Steve Have a Podcast. We're really enjoying this show. And if you're listening over on Apple Podcasts /iTunes, please leave us a review over there. Just a few lines, like the person who enjoyed
The Queen's Gambit.
Right. What was her name?
Oh,
Goofy gal.
23, 22. Which goofy gal?
2444.
That's it.
I always wonder if there's significance to those numbers, or people just pick random numbers. I always just pick, like, if I have to do that, I'll just go with 1966. And I'm like, oh, great, I've given away my age.
Yeah,
And,
right now, someone can answer one of the security questions on when they're trying to log into my bank account.
Yeah.
Birth 1966.
See, now there's a lot of people just doing math in their heads.
It's like, wow, how can he be quite that old?
Hey, damn, that dude's old. Anyways,
Well,
leave us a comment if you can over there. That'd be great. That would help us out because really most of our downloads are on iTunes. That's where most of the people listen is. And of course, follow us on YouTube. We really appreciate that. We want to get this YouTube channel up to 1,000 subscribers. I don't know why. Just to be fun. Why not?
well, we can
Subscribe.
have 1,000 subscriber special if
Right.
we manage to do that.
We'll have
And
a
it's a great place
giveaway.
to also leave a comment because you can just,
That, yeah. Now,
we're
see, there's a
always checking
good
the comments.
place.
We do our best to like reply to the comments as we have talked about in this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have a question or if there's something that you would like to hear us talk about or whatnot, we would love to hear from you. So please do leave a comment.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.